necessary information to come up with a new development project for the beach. The only thing we can do at this point is fix what we already have. Thank you.
Commissioner McBoyd?
I too, I think, heard some themes that came out of this. I think we all agree that there is some level of problems with the building. I'm certainly, through my discussions with the city manager over the last quite a while, painfully aware of the issues of leakage through the eastern doors and the conflict of solving that with ADA issues. Also painfully aware of drainage issues on the balcony. Other issues are how well designed was the upper part for practical things like, as somebody mentioned, changing space for the bride, various other features, enough space to make a restaurant work there. Some of those things clearly can be solved. Some of those things clearly should be pushed back onto either the designers or the builders, or both. And I believe that some of that is in process as we speak. Some of it, I don't know that we've done anything. I think we were challenged by a resident to say, hey, let's not put the cart before the horse. Before we go inviting in an enormous public-private partnership to fix leaking doors, let's do things in order. Let's fix the existing building, see if that lets us rent out the space. That would shift the balance of the numbers on the building as far as the finances. A number of people have raised the point that why are we in such a stew and in such a hurry to jump into a public-private partnership to fix a possibly non-problem, some of which should be fixed in different ways, when we have other funds around the city that regularly lose money. And nobody's saying, well, we should, do something different at the golf course, which has lost a lot of money. Every year that I've been on here, I can't tell you how skeptical I am at this point. Every year somebody comes in around budget time and says, I've got the solution for the golf course, and this year it's going to make money. And it never has. It's always lost money. And every now and then we forgive great quantities of it because the finance director says, you know what? You're never going to see it. You might as well get it off your books and give it, just forgive it. Why is it that we are okay with that at the golf course, but we're not okay with supporting an amenity that obviously people are quite passionate about in this room for the beach? So I would say, let's do things in order. Fix the problems with the building as best as possible. Find out whether that opens up better possibilities of renting the second floor. I think everybody in this community would be thrilled to have a nice restaurant on the second floor that might be too expensive to go to on a regular basis, but might be a great space to go to occasionally. And the bottom one that is the biggest issue.
Thank you.
No, I want to finish on this one.
Thank you.
The biggest issue is when this building was designed before, this one, we had public charrettes, multiple ones. The public came and talked and helped in the design. That's how this process has to happen.
Okay, Commissioner Emerson?
Okay, first of all, with all due respect, Commissioner, I would invite you to spend more time with your city attorney and your city manager. Then you would know that we are working on those problems, we are discussing those problems, but those are some things that need to be taken behind closed doors while they're in talking. Am I correct? That's why it has not been made public yet. We are privy to it, but again, it's something that they're talking about trying to fix those problems. So it is being worked on, and I only have 3 minutes, so let's hit it. The parking, the biggest problem I have at the beach is the parking has to pay for the building. I've heard, oh, we're taking in all this money for parking. We are, but it's paying for the overhead, it's paying for the building, it's paying for maintenance, it's paying for landscaping, it's doing everything up there, which I would have never agreed with. The parking fees should not be paying for the overhead. That's one of the bleeds. let's talk about the golf course, the $1.8 million. When we were elected, we found $1.8 million sitting there in a fund that says, you owe, and no one ever forgave that. We took it off the line item because it didn't make sense to keep rolling over as a deficit, 1.8. The discussions here on the dais was if we ever started making money back at the golf course, which we are this year, and it's going to look better than it's ever looked, then we would repay that. But it didn't make sense from a business standpoint to have that $1.8 million sitting there. So nobody forgave anything, we just took it off the line item because it did not make sense to sit there. Let's talk about, somebody referred to as a history lesson. You want to talk about history? $1.6 million that you as a taxpayer had to pay. You want to listen to some good tapes? Listen to those tapes where you had a commission and a dais and bloggers talking about investors that were coming to Lake Worth. Whether they were good guys or bad guys, it didn't matter. But they were talking, and it cost you $1.6 million because they were talking within emails and public and blogs about somebody that they were doing business with. So you want to talk, and I hate to keep bringing up the past, but a lot of people in this room need to know why we got to this point. And, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Commissioner Maxwell?
Thank you. Actually, I want to correct Commissioner Amoroso. It was not just the $1.6 million settlement, whatever that dollar value was. It was all the hundreds of thousands of dollars led up to the settlement. So the cost of the city was well over $2 million to get out of a project that a few people didn't want, or decided they didn't want, and whatever. So if you can't move forward unless you know who was it that said, those who don't know their history are compelled to repeat it? So
Fail to learn from history or
you know what, we can sit here in a state of denial all night long, or all week long, or all the rest of our lives, but if we don't understand how we got here, we're never gonna be able to solve the problems. Now, first of all, as far as fixing the existing building is concerned, that's a great opportunity, but the reality of it is, once we fix it, we're still back to where we should have been when they opened the doors on day one. We're still getting the same amount of rent, we're gonna still get the same amount of events. So it doesn't change the financial picture or anything other except we get better hardware and it doesn't leak and some of the things that we're, so that's, yes, let's fix the building, I agree with that. As far as an audit is concerned, my understanding of our audits is we get an audit every year. And the audit doesn't speak to whether or not we spend our money wisely or we spend our money foolishly. The audit speaks to whether or not we are accounting for the money. And we always have clean audits. Is that correct, City Manager? And, I appreciate the concern about the audit, but I don't think we should hang our hat on the fact that those numbers that we're getting from staff at this point are not audited. Number two, I'm still waiting to hear from staff. I want to know exactly what the bleed is, including the payback. Okay? How many lifeguards are we cutting back on? What deferred maintenance, the whole 9 yards? I want to know what the real bleed is, because staff has patched this together over the last few years, and then it looked like there is no bleed. Okay. As far as any options, like I said earlier, I don't care if it's a hot dog stand. A hot dog stand is gonna have to pay enough to cover what we need to be where we need to be. And more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, the hot dog stand is going to pay taxes on the land that they occupy. They're gonna pay property taxes on top of what they give us in terms of income to the city. And then finally, I would say that, and it's been said many times tonight, I would like to see the proposals for myself. I would like to see the 3 or 4, however many proposers we have come in here and give a 30-minute presentation to this commission, uninterrupted, from beginning to end, and show us what they've got going on. Because I don't want to hear it in the blog, I don't want to see it in that funky newspaper that was out there. I want to see it for myself. So that's all I have, thanks.
And I think that was a good comment, though. Those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. When we mentioned the golf course, right? We lost money over and over again. We lost money over and over. Isn't that set up a red flag? We can't afford to lose money over and over again. Our pensions are going to increase every year. Our public safety costs are going to increase every year. Our budget has decreased. In the last 5 years, we used to be at $44 million, $46 million. We're trying to operate a city on $29 million as a budget. Think about how things have changed. We have reserves, we don't. We've got just the bare bones of what we need to connect. Everything doesn't have to make a profit. We know our ball fields aren't going to make a profit. We take those losses. But the things that do have commercial buildings on them, and that is a commercial structure, okay, the things that do have buildings on them and do have costs, hard costs involved in that, need to support themselves and pay for themselves. They don't have to make a profit, and oh my gosh, if it did make a profit, guess what? It's a separate fund and that money would be reinvested in that beach project, and you could do even more things, or buy volleyball nets, or improve the bathrooms, or change the fixtures, or change the plates that are rusting off the doorknobs. As for the legalese, we're taking care of the situation. I personally don't believe we should pay a dime to fix a piece of that building, because we already paid for it. So, and that's being addressed and looked at. We need to fix the building, yes, we need to do something, but we have to invest in ourselves, and we have to decide, what do we deserve as a community? What do we deserve, what amenities do we want, and come together and decide what that is as a community. What do we want, what do we deserve, what can we have? We can have anything, we can have nothing. It's up to you, you know, we'll be the spokesperson for you in this. We have that opportunity, this is not a done deal, this is conversations. Sheesh, 2020 bond issue, we had 27 meetings and that wasn't enough. I'm sure this won't happen fast. But let's try to do this. I do agree we need to see the proposals. Not having them here is a misrepresentation. We're all talking about something and not everybody even knows what we're talking about. But we can never build, do, or plan another thing in this city unless we have a business model to make it work and support and sustain itself. If not, we are setting ourselves up for failure.
Yeah.
Whatever we decide, whatever you want, whatever we decide, we have to keep that, and we have to remember, we have a job and a business of this city to run for its people, its residents, its taxpayers. Because if not, you will pay for it some way or another. And let's take control of the situation now. Thank you all very much for coming. I'll entertain a meeting. Wait, so one comment?
I know, but as your ITN liaison, the recommendation from your ITN, you had recommendations come forward, so I think we need clarity on, is it this body's direction? The reason you didn't get proposals was there wasn't proposals, one of the proposals wasn't pushed forward, it was not the ITN's recommendation. The ITN recommendation was to look forward and to possibly negotiate with the renter upstairs and to look at possibly doing studies. So if you are not going to take the ITN's recommendation, then we need direction from this body to staff that the next meeting we want to have would be to look at all three, even the one that has died, the Wave House, and to bring all three forward to a public meeting. If that is our direction, then we would not take the ITN's direction.
Vice Mayor?
Are we making any decisions at all?
No, we're not.
So maybe you should bring your comments back to the next commission meeting and act on it in the next commission meeting.
We should set it up that we'll have a meeting in which we will discuss the
Okay,
vote
so
on
there's no
that.
direction tonight?
No.
Okay,
We said that there will be no decisions made at this meeting tonight. It was for the public's chance to speak and reach out.
okay.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Amoroso. Good night, everyone.